The following content is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. You're listening to the Everyday Therapy Podcast. I'm JC Rader.
And I'm Julianne Schroeder.
And we're therapists bringing you honest conversations around emotional wellness and self-development.
Inspired by our personal experiences in therapy and because of our clients, we realize therapy has so much to offer both on and off the couch. Listen for tips and tools to navigate all the challenges that life throws your way.
To give us feedback on topics and guests, or for more information on our community events, counseling, or online services, contact us at everydaytherapypodcast.com. Hello. Let's acknowledge our supporters to start with. So Lifeologie is a group counseling private practice, and they are amazing. So they have practices all over the Dallas, Fort Worth area, as well as in Austin, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And they have starting prices at $35, which is insane for therapy. And those are for their interns, which are supervised by licensed clinical supervisors, all the way up to specially trained people for special issues. And so they have early morning appointments, late evening, and weekends. So if you've ever wanted to seek out therapy, like, this is your time to do it. And check out Lifeologie Institute. Their motto is creative
solutions to stuck problems.
Yes, thank you,
teamwork.
Julian.
Yes.
Yeah, they are great. And I was trained there and just really support them. We're so glad they're supporters of us.
Yes, absolutely. And part of the creative solutions to stuck problems, they have created the Lifeologie Institute for Psychotherapeutic Yoga, LISPY for short. So the LISPY school really is this cutting edge way of integrating Eastern and Western approach to healing in all ways in addressing the mind and the body. So they are targeting and looking for interested individuals that are in the mental health field or are already yogis who want to be able to affect change with clients by becoming a psychotherapeutic yoga clinician.
Yes. Yeah. And they are, Julianne's an instructor there. We're both graduates from the program. And so we are huge advocates for that organization. So thank you both LISPY and Lifeologie for your support. And let's get into our topic today.
Ooh.
Healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're not in a relationship, you probably know somebody who is, / you probably want to be in one someday or have been.
We recommend that.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of benefits for being in relationships.
Yeah. And the things that we'll talk about, like, you can apply to not just like intimate partner relationships, but romantic friendships and family. Right. Yeah. So hopefully applicable to everybody. But we are going to be talking about that, like, love relationship.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a struggle, like relationships. Like, not only are you dealing with your own mind, your own brain, your own body, but somebody else's. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just so much with that. Like, you've grown up with yourself and you struggle with yourself. So now you're adding this other person into the mix.
Mm-hmm. And you're both bringing in baggage, right? Like, maybe you're carrying and rolling in, like, a lot.
Backpacks and,
right?
You got a storage unit.
Yeah, no judgment. But, like, you got to unpack that.
Yeah.
Right? And learn how to, like, make a home out of it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and I think.
Did you like my analogy?
Yes, I like that. And I think that, that's a good analogy because a lot of it is unconscious.
Yeah.
And so it takes a lot of self-reflection and taking responsibility and ownership to like see your own stuff,
Yeah.
and honor somebody else and respect them to show them their stuff too, in a helpful way,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, where should we start?
Should we start at like what is healthy?
Yeah.
And like what, I mean, nobody can get it down, but like these are the things that you want to be looking for.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing is like there can be a lot of relationship anxiety and doubt, and we don't really talk about that in our culture. But as long as there's no abuse, like active addiction, like those big major red flags, and people are willing to like create a safe environment, trust, respect, support, like those are some of the things I think of with a healthy relationship. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, let's look. I mean, we had written some down, right? Like, and if we want to kind of go into detail,
Yeah.
right? Like, what does that really mean? Because people can say, oh, healthy communication, but let's really talk about what that looks like.
For sure.
Right? So, as I'm stalling, pulling up the note, what is one of yours that you think is really foundational?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think safety is a big piece. Feeling safe to be your true self, like really like be authentic and not be fearful of like being judged or
Right. So, emotional safety as well as physical safety, but you're
Yes.
talking about emotional safety.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, sorry, I shouldn't
Yeah.
just assume that that's a given.
Yeah.
But yeah, any type of physical safety, like, is a red flag and something that we should be concerned about.
Yes. Okay. I can't find where I did put that. So we'll just talk from experience.
Yeah.
But okay, when we talk about emotional safety, what does that actually look like?
Yeah. I think that it's being able to like speak your truth, like who you really are. Yeah, and just kind of be yourself in a relationship. So, yeah, what does it mean for you?
Um, yeah, I guess, I mean, for me, it's being able to express my feelings and my opinions without being worried that, like my partner is going to like dismiss them or negate them, minimize, or tell me that I can't think or feel that way. Right.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And yeah, I think for me, especially, so like being brought up, like one of my childhood wounds is like fear of abandonment. You know, we all have our different childhood wounds or like being left. So any type of like criticism or somebody distancing themselves or kind of leaving or me perceiving that they're leaving, like for me, that does not feel safe. So I think that that speaks to, we all have our individual things that we can be aware of and ask for in relationships. Like I have to be really on top of that and like say to my partner, like, hey, like this triggers me. Like I need you to be there for me in this way. Yeah.
Yeah. Has that happened recently or?
Oh, I'm sure it has. Yeah. I think one for me and my partner would be like whenever we're like fighting or, having a conflict in some way, I like had to ask for like, I really need you to like to hold me, like hold my hand or touch me, like know that you're there. Like while we're fighting. And like another way that we like fight is we'll like pray like afterwards, and like it's hard to like be really upset at somebody like when you're bringing your spirituality, like whether it be something else, but something like so pure and like loving, so that creates a lot of safety for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that reminder that amidst the fight, it's not that he's going to leave you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think trust is a big aspect in a healthy
huge.
relationship.
Huge.
And like not only trust that somebody's not going to like cheat on you, like that's hopefully a given, but like trust that they're accountable that if like timeliness or dependability, kind of that loyalty is there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because relationships provide security.
Yeah.
Right. So if trust isn't there and then we don't experience that security, then that's going to create a lot of issues. Right.
Yeah.
And trust takes time to build.
For sure. I loved our episode on friendship, which I totally think it can apply to relationships too. But Sally talked about how it takes 200 hours of being in relationship with someone to develop a deep connection. So yeah, it takes time. You're not going to know that you can trust somebody at the beginning of a relationship. And if that trust is broken, it's going to take some time to get back there too. And effort.
Yes.
Practice.
Yeah. For me, that's a big, big deal. Right.
Okay. Tell us more about that.
Well, do we really want to get into that? Well, no, okay. I think it's important to share, and ultimately, a partner that I'm going to end up with, when it's appropriate, I will let them know a little bit about my history so that they can provide some security. So one of my struggles in relationships is being able to ask for what I need. So that's like a twofer right there. So, but I've had a history of being cheated on, all except one of my major relationships involved me being cheated on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so that would, we bring not only our childhood into relationships, but past relationships into whatever current relationship we're in. So yeah, you would be triggered by any type of thing that appeared like cheating or not trusting somebody.
Yeah. So consistency and follow through is really important. And I've gotten better. I'm really proud of this. When I'm going on dates, and I will say that up front, when you eventually reach that conversation, well, what are you looking for? I'll say it's really important for me for somebody to be consistent. So I'll say it in that way. I'm not going to be because everybody's cheated on me and all men are cheaters, because that's not healthy. And right.
Yeah. TMI at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But
so
eventually that's
eventually I want
to
trust a partner so they can understand just why that's important to me.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had that and have been hurt.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Trust takes time and trust takes vulnerability as
Absolutely.
well.
I was just thinking that whenever you were talking about that, that's really vulnerable even for you to share on here.
I know. I'm should I? I might
yes,
be regretting that later.
People can so relate to that, whether it's being cheated on or just always being broken up with or, whatever it is. So for sure.
And another aspect to trust that I think is so important, and especially if, there are flags of emotional abuse, is that actions follow through. So it's not just words, because it can be easy sometimes in, a relationship that's unhealthy for a partner to be okay, well, I won't do that next time. I told you I'm working on it. And for the other partner to be okay, all right, I guess I'll just accept this.
Right.
But really you need the actions to go along with the promises.
Absolutely. Yeah. To actually see it. Or see progress, right? It might
right,
not happen overnight. But
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about John Gottman?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So John Gottman, I remember learning about him in my undergraduate psychology course, marital psychology. And I was because I grew up in a very broken home or blended family, a lot of divorce, and he is able to share actual tools and steps to have healthy relationships. He can predict divorce up to 90% of being with a couple, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think he watches them fight. And you can tell in 15 minutes if they're going to if their relationship is going to withstand the test or not.
Which that sounds really scary, and it's kind of why is he doing that? Why? But he's created antidotes to the things that he sees in relationships or in fighting, in order to kind of correct that system. And so he calls them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Doom, doom, doom.
Yeah, like so dooming. Yeah, and we'll go through them, but one of the main ones is criticism. It's like criticizing your partner.
Yeah. So what does that sound like?
Yeah. Good question.
Can I think of a...
Yeah, let's think of like an example.
I'm wondering, okay, tell me if this gets into contempt, which is another one, let me know so we can differentiate.
Yeah.
But criticism along the lines of, you never do this, or you always do this.
Yes.
You're so lazy.
Yes.
Oh, that might be contempt. Sorry.
No, that is criticism.
Okay. Well, it's both, right?
Yeah. They kind of blend together,
Okay.
but the opposite of criticism would be kind of to soften your startup and to say like I statements, right? Like if you've been in therapy at all, you probably know what I statements are. But I feel that I feel sad whenever you don't call me back or whenever you are late to this event. I would really like you to be on time or to call me back. And so you're softening your startup by saying how you feel. Like your feelings are valid no matter what. And you're asking for there to be a difference, right? So it's not just like you are never on time.
Right.
Can never do anything right.
Right.
But yeah.
It's more, constructive.
It's constructive. It's a complaint, which John Gottman says complaining is good because you're communicating to your partner of what you need.
But then you need action
Yeah.
involved, right? And not like attacking character. Also, using I statements does not give you permission to say something like, I feel like you are always late.
Yes.
I want you to change.
I feel, and then a feeling, I feel blank, sad,
I feel like
disappointed.
you are lazy and you need to fix that.
I feel you are. Yeah, don't do the you are. Don't add that in.
Okay, that is not.
Yes.
You cannot manipulate that around.
Thank you for saying that.
Right.
I feel like I've so done that before in my relationship. I dated this guy in college. In graduate school, he was a psychology student, and we would do that back and forth, like trying to use I statements, and it was just fighting with, I feel you are a horrible person. Oh gosh, that was, interesting time in my life. So the next one is defensiveness. So, not really being able to take ownership or accountability. And I think that it's so important that there's 2 sides to the street, right? Like I have my side, something that I'm doing. And even in our relationship, Julian, like you have your side. And so I'm always going to have something that I'm responsible for. And if I'm always like blaming you, like that's not going to be helpful.
Right. Like if, I don't know, to give an example of something that maybe I've done in the past. I might have said something like you are too demanding of me. But really I need to look at how I can't say no.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So taking responsibility for like kind of perpetuating that.
Yes. And it's in a way it's kind of playing the victim, like if you aren't able to take responsibility. So you just don't understand how demanding my job is. You know, like you just don't get it. Versus saying like, I can see how that's hard for you, that, you know, I'm not around a lot, that I'm really involved in my job. Like, yes, I love my job. I want to be part of it. And like, it's affecting you. So taking responsibility of your part. And this shows that your partner, you can see that their point of view, right? Like I understand where you're coming from. Like I'm validating your feelings and I can still have a different point of view as well.
Yeah.
You know, we can have both.
Yeah.
And that's so hard for me. Oh my gosh. Because it feels like a personal attack. Like I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
It feels like it creates a lot of fear in me to kind of like accept your point of view if it's something negative about me. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah. Well, and you know, not to, I guess, make gender assumptions, but this is something that, as far as defensiveness, men can tend to struggle with more, is because when they hear something like some feedback, they tend to jump to that shame of, oh, I'm a bad partner, right? So just like you were saying, at times you personalize and can't take any feedback. I mean, my thought is that it's then you start to jump into that shame.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think ultimately for me, it's kind of this fear of like, oh, like if this is true, like, could you leave me? You know, and it may be something different for somebody else, but there's like this like underlying fear of why I can't accept responsibility for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to like, both sides
Parse
have to like,
out.
look at themselves with compassion of,
Yes.
right. Okay. So maybe I didn't do this in the way that I needed to for you. And I failed in that way, but that does not mean that I as a person, I as a partner am failing.
Yeah.
Right.
John Gottman says, and this is based on somebody else's research, but he says that 95% of a conflict is letting somebody tell their entire point of view, their entire perspective, understanding and validating it. Only 5% is problem solving and then persuading your point of view. So if you can imagine like a conflict where, because I feel like I immediately go to like persuading somebody, like my point of view, because I don't want to be seen in this like negative light. But if you just kind of allow them to speak their piece,
And
that's intense.
Yeah. Sit back though. But yeah, I mean, really that takes like compassion for like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, for yourself, for
and for them.
the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a practice.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I think is, sorry, so many I thinks, plays into defensiveness. It can look like if somebody gives some feedback, then they're like, but you did this.
Oh, yes.
Right. And then like tit for tat.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's like
a form of
another way.
defensiveness.
Yeah, it's another way that it can come up of like, well, you did this one thing, like kind of blaming them or pulling in something else versus just like kind of accepting what they're saying.
Yeah. So I think John has recommended this idea of any fight or any feedback given, like being present focused. So not dredging up the past.
Absolutely.
So it's more constructive in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. The third of the 4 horsemen is contempt. So, and this word, and it's like the biggest one. It's the biggest out of all 4 horsemen.
Like it's the most dangerous. Like
yes,
it's going to kill the relationship.
Yes. Yeah. Be really aware of this one. And when I hear this word contempt, I'm kind of like, what does that mean?
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
Like I should know this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like disdain of your partner. Okay. So it would be, and like this can come out in like body language, right? So like eye rolling, kind of
like turning away.
Yeah, turning away. Let's see, sighing, making insults. It just communicates kind of like disgust, just negativity towards the other person. And I can sometimes struggle with this in the sense that my dad, he was really funny, but some of his humor was kind of putting other people down. And like, I think it was like his coping skill of like, driving in the car, like, oh, that person's so ignorant, or like just like negative.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my like negative mental chatter. So I have to be really aware of this one because it is so dangerous within a relationship. And ultimately, it's like putting the other person down and you are like elevating yourself. So it's like almost like a form. It doesn't have to be overt just aggression, but kind of a form of aggression in a way. So what are your thoughts on that? Have you ever experienced it or?
Yeah, I guess I'm blanking. Yeah, come back to me on that.
Yeah. Well,
but I can just see though, like, so, it's not just the words spoken, but how we interact.
Yes.
Right.
Words.
When there's a power differential, and that it sounds like this creates.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can see how that would be damaging.
Right.
Versus being on the same level.
Yeah. And I think that it also, like, I can see it also coming from a place of fear. You know, if I'm feeling like less than, then I really want to elevate myself, you know?
It's kind of like what bullies do.
Yeah.
Actually, it is what bullies do.
Absolutely.
And narcissists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the antidote for contempt is expressing appreciation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just go from disgust to appreciation real quick.
Yeah.
Tell me, how does that work?
Right. It's a practice.
Yeah.
And I literally
Yeah.
practice this.
Do you?
Yes. Yeah. So we talk about gratitude journals
Yeah.
a lot. And I will do a daily practice, like in my gratitude journal, of where I'm like acknowledging rights that my partner did. Because we have that negative interpretation of like, oh, he did this to me, he did that to me. And not acknowledging like all these beautiful, wonderful things that he like brings to the table. It's just kind of where my mind like naturally goes. So I have to like practice
it.
that.
Yeah.
Some other ways of communicating, or like the antidote to contempt, would be like saying I love you and really meaning it. Like that presence. So it doesn't have to be the words, but just like communicate. I'm like showing Julianne I love her right now. Like, you know, eye contact and like that like real affirmation.
Yeah. I'm struggling because I've just got to think about the feasibility of this in the moment when you're fighting.
Yeah.
Right. Like how that would be hard to go back to.
Absolutely.
In the moment.
I think so. What I think of whenever you say that is like part of it is, and we can get to the next four horsemen, which I think they all kind of interact together, right? So I think that that'll be helpful. But I think the neutrality, if you can avoid eye rolling, avoid sighing, avoid insulting. So maybe it's not like in the moment genuinely saying I love you.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not. It's being more neutral.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm going to get defensive. I'm sure I've done that at some point, but like I mean, I don't think, I'm just thinking about the feasibility of somebody who is really emotional.
Yes.
Like
Like
them
myself.
jumping,
Yeah.
jumping from,
Yeah. And I think that that's where it comes in, that if you are practicing like appreciation and like this genuine love for somebody whenever you're not in the heat of the moment, then that can more easily come in those moments, or it can more easily be neutral. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see this being easier to do once you've had maybe some space from the fight, of being like, okay, time out. Like we're not seeing all of each other right now. Let's, pause.
Yes.
Pause, not like run away.
Yeah. Pause. You have to set a time where you're coming back and say 5 minutes tomorrow, whatever it is.
Yeah. 20 minutes, I think, from elevated emotions at least.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, having space. And, because I talked to you about one way of cultivating appreciation. I gave my friend and her husband a journal so they can continue to write things that they appreciate, like to each other. So I could see like, all right, you have a fight, you say, hey, we're not seeing all of each other. Let's pause. Yeah. Take some time away, and then they maybe like, oh, well, this is what I like about you.
Yes. Yeah. Kind of like looking back as that reminder. Yeah. And I will, it's not like a daily practice in that, like sometimes I drop off of like doing the appreciation. Sometimes it's just in my head, but sometimes I will do it whenever I'm like really upset at the person, and it is like helpful. Sometimes it's not. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that journal that you gave your friends. I feel like everybody should have that.
A journal, a love journal.
I feel like we need to call John Gottman and say,
hey, I have an idea for you.
Yes, yeah.
Do you want to add this to your repertoire?
Do you want to sponsor us, so basically?
Or come on the show. That could work.
Yeah.
John Gottman, hey, we're coming for you.
Yeah. Okay, so the fourth four horsemen is stonewalling.
I might know a thing or two about that.
Yeah. Well, I think a majority of men struggle with stonewalling.
Yeah. I think that I could say stat.
Okay. Say a stat.
That John Gottman found.
Yeah.
84% men tend to stonewall.
I feel like I can relate to stonewalling too, but it sounds like you can as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that before,
but
also been on the receiving end.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So what is that like for you?
on the receiving end or to do it?
Either one or both. Yeah. What does stonewalling look like? Because I feel like that's another one of those words that's like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. So stonewalling technically means like putting up a barrier in the fight, so it cannot, like, there can be no repair.
Hence the stone wall. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm following you.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like a partner being like, no, I don't want to talk about this. Somebody maybe like physically leaving. And we both advocate knowing when a fight is destructive and not constructive, of taking a pause, but it has to be communicated and agreed upon.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, like, this is going nowhere. Let's, come back.
Let's pause and come back.
Come back. Stonewalling is like, I'm just going to leave. I can't do this. Like, I don't want to talk about this at all.
Yeah.
And it's one partner making that decision.
Yeah.
Or it's the one partner becoming silent.
Yeah. Like the silent treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've done before.
Me too. Yeah. Sorry, Matt. We're all a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I know for me, the trigger too, when I like start to do the silent treatment, is if I don't feel heard. And so if
you just shut down.
Yeah, just shut down. I'm like,
Yeah.
fine, why even bother? Yeah.
And that goes back to some other points that we made of like really feeling understood.
Yeah.
Validated, which is so hard to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, and other ways that stonewalling can look, especially like on men, is like no facial expression. So if you can see that, like they're not like engaging or present or
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, bringing up some memories. Okay.
Yeah, just totally shutting down,
Yeah.
not talking. And I think sometimes what can go through our heads is like, I can't get anywhere with this. Like, I'm going to say the wrong thing. Like, it can sometimes come out of a place of like, I'm trying to make this situation better. Not always.
Right.
Sometimes it's like a form of punishment.
Sure.
In a way.
Yeah. Because it doesn't convey that you're like necessarily present and trying to work through something.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that for me, like whenever I get emotionally overwhelmed, when I need to like take a break or a pause or distract myself maybe with something because John Gottman talks a lot about like your heart rate needs to be under 100 beats per minute to have a conflict, which we don't I don't have an Apple iPhone watch, but if you do.
Hey, Apple.
Yeah.
Would you like to sponsor us?
Yes. Or, sometimes therapists will have like heart rate monitors, especially Gottman therapists, to be able to monitor this conflict. But I mean, I can tell when my heart is racing.
Yeah.
And I do need to, like, I can't have a fight whenever I'm
Right.
at that elevated place.
Yeah. I mean, I always speak to my clients about, it's kind of a DBT term, dialectical behavior therapy, but like when you're speaking from your emotional mind versus the rational or the wise mind.
Explain that more.
So like in terms of when you're, I guess, speaking from the emotional mind, like your brain, you're literally talking from the impulsive center, right?
The primitive, just the emotion.
Fight or flight.
Yes.
Like literally that is activated.
Yeah.
So I think it makes perfect sense then that to monitor the physiological response that indicates like where your emotional
and if you
intensity
weren't
is.
taught as a child to self-soothe, then you can do that in destructive ways. So that can look like, we've been talking a lot in our other episodes about breathing. Like that is a direct connection to your nervous system to calm down the body, to calm down the mind, the breath, exercise, a distraction, a funny TV show, humor, figuring out what soothes you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we expect our partner to soothe ourselves or to soothe us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus like kind of taking that accountability, taking that ownership.
Yeah. Like, just say the right thing. Just
Yeah.
And
if
then
you would just understand or which you should try to understand. But
Yeah. Okay. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Being aware of just how emotionally activated you are.
Yeah. So, and I love this, like going back to contempt. Contempt says, I'm better than you. Respect says, I appreciate you. So, yeah, those are the four horsemen. So those are the things to like really look out
For.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if those are happening, and I guess there's a pattern of that showing up in your relationship, that's when you would likely want to look at that,
Yeah.
and talk about that with your partner, seek
Yeah.
therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of great resources out there to like combat those things. And yeah, I think just like some self reflection, taking ownership, journaling, talking with friends, a therapist, your partner.
Yeah. And if your partner's like not willing to do the work per se, like you can still do that,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So I'm sure you've had this with clients of, like, well, I can't get him to couples therapy. And I'm like, okay, like if if he's not ready to look at that, then okay, what are you going to do right for yourself?
Yeah.
So sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah. So should we talk about
How to make relationships better?
Yeah.
Not just a doomsday.
Some of the positives of successful relationships.
Yeah. We're here just to tell you that relationships are hard and you're doomed. You're welcome. No.
But they're so powerful and so meaningful. Like quality of life, right? Like that's like why we're here on earth, is to create this sense of, or to have a sense of belonging. So it does a world of difference on the nervous system, stress levels, your immunity system, all those things.
Yes.
But yeah, they are hard.
Yeah. So we spend ample time talking about the issues because, we don't want people to believe that like it's like the movies and everything.
Yeah, it's not a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's work.
Yeah.
So for sure.
But they can be good and productive. And here's how.
Yeah. So John Gottman has 7 principles of successful relationships. And the first one is enhancing your love maps.
Ooh, tell me what
it
a
sounds
love map.
sexy, doesn't it? It's not that sexy.
Well, actually, I was thinking about like going on a road trip.
Oh yeah. I like that. That's cute too. So all of your partner's relevant information, their life dreams, their favorite movies, their best friends, their hopes, all the ins and outs of them, right? And we evolve and we change as people through time, through phases of life. So that has to constantly be kept up with, of like checking in with like, where are you today? What are your dreams for this year, the next 10 years?
Oh, I love talking about goals. I could do that.
Yes. Julian loves her manifestation boards. All you would need to do is be like, here's my manifestation board.
Here. Now, what's yours?
Yeah.
What are your goals for this quarter? How can I support you?
Yeah, but like really knowing your partner on a deep level.
Well, and to take interest and not like become complacent and like you said, because we're ever evolving as individuals.
Yeah.
So I love, and especially in long-term relationships, right? Things can get a little stale and you can think everything about the partner. So I think John Gottman has an app where there are like date night questions, but you can find on Amazon too, right?
Yeah.
Of just like questions that probe deeper.
Yeah.
Than, how's work going?
Yes.
Right. And so
absolutely. And having like dinner. He has this new book called 8 Dates, and it's basically like love maps in a dating book. Right. And so, just being creative, right? Like with your time together.
Yeah. And not being ashamed that like you need other things to bring into the relationship. Yeah. Right. Like this is just like what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, other healthy principles of a relationship. So nurture fondness and admiration. So we had kind of talked about that already, but it is just impressing upon the importance of noticing the good in your partner.
And then turning towards your partner instead of turning away during times of stress. So you ultimately want your partner to be your confidant, and it's hard whenever you are in conflict or in stress. But like I was saying earlier, like for me, it's like saying like, hey, can you hold my hand? And that's hard for me to ask. It's super vulnerable, and I want to like turn the other way. Yeah, but I'm turning towards.
Yes.
So that's just like a minor aspect.
Yeah. Oh, number 4, let your partner influence you. So it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Right? Not like somebody that's dominating.
Right.
So allow them.
Yeah.
To,
Yeah. We can be independent,
Yeah.
dependent, and interdependent. And we have to have all aspects of that within the relationship. If our partner like wants something, sometimes we have to compromise and kind of let them affect us. Like,
Yeah.
oh, your hobby is what's one of Matt's hobbies? Sailing. I would love to take a sailing trip with you. Like, I want that to be a part of my life too. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then making sure that you're consulting on bigger life decisions. Like you don't need approval from your partner on everything, but like it is a partnership. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So number 5, solving your solvable problems. So all couples have solvable and perpetual problems. That's kind of like a confusing term that he does use, and we don't have time to get into today. But those perpetual problems that come up may be like finances or like sexual issues or things like that. And then we have certain solvable problems that are maybe like a little more minor, and they have like a direct ending or resolution to the problem. And so making sure that you are solving the problems that you can solve, and then you're working through the perpetual problems and talking about them.
Yeah, but that you're not spinning your wheels.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. And then, like related to those perpetual problems, like eventually finding ways to overcome the gridlock. And to do that, talking about dreams with the goal of making peace with the problem. So maybe kind of accepting like, okay, we're going to agree to disagree on this.
Yeah. So hard to do.
Yeah.
Create shared meaning. I love this one.
Oh, you do love this one. You share this a lot. I love it though.
I love it. In what way do I share that?
I don't know. You just do.
Like with friends or?
Yeah. Does this entail reading out loud?
Yes, like finding things. So me and my friends and also my partner will like read together, but we have like a book that we're reading together, or
They like read out loud to each other.
It embarrasses Julianne. But develop big and small rituals. Yes, this is so it that help build a bond with your partner. So, and that can range from hosting a party, reading together, coffee together in the morning, like small, big things. Yes. So I do love it.
No judgment. No judgment.
Yeah, but a lot of judgment.
A lot of judgment.
Julianne, yes.
Anyways, it's cute. It's cute. It's cute. All right.
Oh, gosh.
I'm turning towards you.
On that note,
we are showing.
My heart rate's elevating. No.
No,
yes.
but can we say another component this isn't on the list is humor. Like, you got to have fun, right? Because you are going to agree to disagree. That maybe I don't like reading out loud.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Maybe I do. Yeah. No, I love that too. Yes. Yeah. Humor for sure. Yeah. So that's an intro to John Gottman's research. There's so much more. He has so many books out there. One of them, The 7 Principles, which kind of goes over more in depth into this last aspect, as well as the 8 dates, the app that we talked about. He has a wealth of resources online, retreats.
Yes.
Amazing. We also love Cheryl Paul. I think even in her relationship anxiety e-courses, she kind of breaks down relationships in a really realistic, healthy way.
Yeah. So check them out.
Yeah.
And let us know how your relationships are going.
Yeah. I'd love to hear. So
all right.
Thank you guys. We'll see y'all soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Everyday Therapy Podcast. Don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes and share with your friends. It really helps us reach more people.
We might only record once a week, but we're with you every day.